So, I think we've talked about this before, but I think it's worth talking about again. That is, of course, the Leave campaign itself. Now, the Leave campaign, you've got to remember, there were two parts to it. There was the unofficial Leave campaign, and then there was the official Leave campaign. And both sides had very different ideas, I think we can all agree, to what it came to actually meant about leaving. Now, this was, in my mind, a strategy, because the official Leave campaign constantly said, all the time, had people on from them basically saying, we're going to leave and we're going to become like Norway or Switzerland. That, to them, if you go back and look it over yourself, that was their official position, pretty much. Now, you had then the unofficial Leave campaign, who basically had people who would migrate between both of the unofficial and official camps at the same time and appear as experts on both channels, representing both the official and unofficial people. Remember, you had Daniel Hannan basically saying only a fool would leave the single market, and now you have Daniel Hannan, the fool, wanting to leave the single market. And you've got people just all the time. Again, just go back and look at this. It's a complete and utter mess. You had Nigel Farage I think it was a couple of weeks ago now, maybe a couple of months, where he went on ITV and he was talking to one of the guys, and he basically said, yeah, we didn't tell anyone the truth about leaving because no one would have understood it. And no one would have... And that whole reason was because he didn't want to put forward a roadmap. He didn't want to put forward an idea of what would happen so that, you know, he couldn't be criticised for it. Now, Nigel Farage, and as I've said before, all these people who campaigned for Leave are uniquely responsible to what happens to Britain going forward, and none of it is going to be good. You know, I said in my last video, enjoy these last couple of you know, normal years since the referendum, because you are never going to get it as good as what these last 2 years have been when we were in the European Union. So, you know, enjoy your job while you might still have it. Enjoy the fact that your food prices are relatively cheap at the moment, because those are going to increase. Enjoy your job protections while you can. Enjoy your environmental protections, and certainly while you can. And enjoy any general regulation that has been a boon to this country, not a, you know, all these things have been good for this country. And one of the things that I find quite funny, which came out recently, was that all these, you talk about all these fishermen, and all these, how these fishermen are saying that their jobs are being destroyed, but it's left, you know, the entire fishing industry is worth about less than 1% to the UK economy, so it's not really that important. But what ignores a lot of people, which again, you don't find out until you actually look into these things, there are 5 families who own the majority of UK fishing in this country. And we're not talking about these, you know, small boats. We're talking about the big boats, the big trawlers, which do the majority of the fishing in this country. Now, what have these 5 families done? They have lobbied the UK government, and won successfully, the contracts for the fishing quotas. This is not them lobbying the EU, this is them lobbying our government to give them the biggest share of these fishing quotas, which leaves these small fishermen who do, what, to put it in perspective, one of these trawlers that, again, one of these big 5 families own, could do basically, in 1 day's of work, one of these big trawlers could do in a month what it takes one of these smaller family-owned boats to do. Just to show the scale-wise. And because of this, you won't be surprised to find out that these big 5 families were quite big contributors to, oh, you guessed it, the unofficial Leave campaign and the Leave campaign at the same time. I wonder what they get from leaving the European Union. Because what these small fishermen should actually be doing is they should be lobbying the government to redistribute the fishing quotas for this country. And that's not an EU thing, that's a UK government thing. So once again, you've got a problem that is being pinned on the European Union when it is in fact the UK government fault, and you can now trace it back to the big 5 families that own the majority of the fishing quotas in the UK. And it is the small fishing boats, the ones who are often most vocal and have supported Nigel Farage, even though Nigel Farage does not support these guys, never has done. He's never come up with any sensible policies that would actually help these guys. He just said, oh, we just need to leave the European Union. So let me just reiterate this for you guys. So these 5 families, now that we have left the European Union, can probably lobby the UK government even harder to have even more of the fishing quotas. And thus, these 5 families will basically dominate, well, they already do, dominate the British fishing industry. So, there you have it. there's not a lot, you know, it's very funny when you look into a lot of people who backed the Leave campaign, you very quickly find out there is a financial interest in them in owning more of the UK industries. And once again, it's muddied interests, you know, the elites convincing people to leave the European Union, which overall does protect and invest in a lot of these poor areas in the country, more so than these elites ever do, to convince them to, you know, leave the European Union. When then the Leave campaign, and Leave means Leave in particular at their rallies, will turn around and say that the Remain campaign was all liberal elites, and that's the reason they wanted to remain. When you have people like Jacob Rees-Mogg who want to leave, who, by the way, has moved his business over to Ireland to, as you know, these regulations are so bad, he's moved his business over there. I wonder why. Not only that, at a Leave, again, we went over this recently, at a Leave campaign rally, he said, oh, the only thing that's going to happen to me is the price of caviar is going to go up. We had something in the Times no, it was not the Times, the Telegraph, basically saying, oh yeah, Brexit's going to be great for your investments, as long as your investments aren't in pounds. And once again, the majority of people who have all these investments are the elites of this country. Surprising no one.